Um, 6 months ago, I wasn't able to walk. I was paralyzed from the waist down. Well, I'd come home from the hospital after having knee replacement. I was home, I think it was 3 days, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, I had to go to the restroom, so I got up, and Mary Jo come around to help get me up like we normally do, and as soon as I straightened up, I just dropped like a wet rag. So they got me on the squad and took me to the hospital. So there they x-rayed my replacement knee and come back and said everything was fine, you can go home. And I was still paralyzed from the waist down. The next morning, being Saturday morning, things were not good. I wasn't regaining any use of my legs, and I don't even know, they switched me from bed to bed, and I don't even know what test they were doing. At this point, I was in so much pain. And so he come in late afternoon, and he says, I know exactly what's going on here. He says, you used a big word that I don't even remember what it was, but in layman terms, he says, your spinal cord had a stroke. And so that's, when we started talking surgery. He says, we can do nothing. And he says, in a short period of time, you're going to be a quadriplegic. And so if we do nothing, so he says, if we do surgery, it's a very delicate, very risky surgery. He says it's very dangerous. He says there's a chance you won't come off the table alive. The surgery was to try to save the upper part of the body and the use of the arms. He says, chances are you'll come out of surgery the same way you are right now, paralyzed from the waist down. But he says there's always hope. So after the surgery, the first 4 days after the surgery was a touch and go. They wasn't even sure I was going to live. When I went to the rehab, of course, I went in on a gurney. They put me in a bed. I had a little bit in my toes. I could move them just a little bit. Then one day they wanted me to stand. That first time standing was really tough. We went to do it one day, and they stood me up, and I had a walker in front of me, but and a therapist on each side. And then they said, we're going to let go of you. So they let go of me, and the first time that I stood was like 3 minutes. Come the day that they decided I was going to walk. And so they got me up, put me on the walker, and I started walking, and she filmed that, and it showed me kind of bent over looking down. Well, when we went back to the surgeon and Mary Jo showed him that, he looked at that and he sat there thinking for a little bit, and then he goes, well, it's not quite a miracle, but it's pretty close. And Mary Jo and I both says, it's a miracle. Well, as I started rehab, they asked me what my goal was. And I said my goal was to be able to play golf again. And I said, if not this fall, in the spring. And I said, if it's not asking too much, do a little extra work on me. I'd like to have another 20 yards on my drive. But I'd like to address the body as far as thanking them for the prayers. Prayer is a very large part of God working in His and for His behalf. So thank you for the prayers, the cards, the visits, and all that. But what I really would like to drive home is the point of seeing God's miracles and blessings every day. Along the way, God performed several miracles. He provided the right doctor and hospital and support staff, and even right down to the rehab people. And over a period of time, I've been able to regain the use of the lower part of my body. And it's just been a blessing from the Lord. And I just praise Him and thank Him for it.